Ever heard the story where the X-Men faced their very own Ultron? You know, a creation of their own that turned against them? And that epic showdown between Charles Xavier and a literal machine? In today's video, I'm gonna break it all down for you. First off, huge thanks for clicking on this video. I really hope you guys enjoy the ride. So, without further ado, let's leap in. The story kicks off at the Xavier Institute on a quiet afternoon. A young mutant named Eddie is walking alone, looking pretty gloomy. He feels off, like he's slowly turning into something that isn't even him. But hey, he's got no choice but to face his destiny. Eddie wanders away from the main building. He's replaying Professor McCoy's words in his head. How Beast tried all those tests just to give him a shred of hope. Eddie reaches the edge of a cliff. He keeps trying to convince himself he's not just some ordinary human. He can fly. And that's the one thing he's actually proud of. Cut to the X-Jet. We've got Colossus, Cyclops, Beast, Wolverine, Kitty, and Emma Frost en route to a mission. They're gossiping about someone who's been stuck in the lab for ages. Wait, are they talking about Eddie? Soon enough, they hit their destination, Manhattan. The city is being absolutely trashed by a giant monster with a flaming back. The Beast smirks at the X-Jet while standing on a pile of crushed cars and rubble. Wolverine, being classic Logan, just grumbles that the thing looked way bigger on TV. Cyclops starts barking orders. Hank, stay with the jet. Kitty and Emma, get the civilians out of the splash zone. Cyclops and Logan, they're taking the flanks. And Colossus? Psych sends him instructions via telepathy thanks to Emma Frost. The plan? Colossus goes full wrecking ball. He leaps from the jet and punches the monster square in the nose. Ouch! Meanwhile, Kitty is on the move. Using her phasing powers, she's pulling people out from under falling debris. In the middle of the chaos, Kitty's mind wanders. She's thinking about someone she found. Could Eddie be the one she discovered and brought to the Institute? But don't blink, or you'll miss this. Kitty turns a woman intangible just in time to let a car pass right through her. Over on the front line, Logan is going ham with his adamantium claws. He shreds the monster's arm, but the Beast swats him into a building. No worries though, Logan pops right back up for round 2. You just can't keep a good Wolverine down. On the other side, Emma Frost is busy with crowd control, nudging civilian minds to get them clear. Cyclops signals Hank when the monster's back is turned. Beast lets fly with the X-Jet's heavy cannons. But man, this monster is tanky. It barely flinches at the blast. Suddenly, the Fantastic Four crash the party. Reed tells the X-Men to back off and let the pros handle it. But Cyclops isn't having it. He wants the X-Men to take this win. Ben Grimm, however, insists on fighting because Manhattan is FF turf. Back to Eddie. Hisako Ichiki, aka Armor, shows up. But she's not exactly being supportive. She tells Eddie that if he really believes he can fly, he should just jump. Eddie tries to argue, but Hisako doubles down. If you're so brave, prove it. Man, why is she being so cold? Back in Manhattan, the X-Men and Fantastic Four are finally playing nice and teaming up. Talk about a powerhouse crossover. Seeing these two teams work together right at the start? Pure hype. Reed wraps his stretchy limbs around the monster's legs, tripping it up. The Beast is down, but not out. That's when the Thing and Colossus team up to slam a literal semi-truck into the monster's head. Lights out! After the dust settles, Mr. Fantastic mentions that Mole Man's monsters have been popping up near the Baxter building lately. That's why they felt it was their job. Luckily, Sue and Reed are actually pretty chill and thank the X-Men for the assist. The X-Men hop back on the jet. There's a funny moment where Johnny Storm worries that if the X-Men get too popular, the FF might become the hated ones. He's joking, obviously. Or is he? The scene shifts to a dark, courtroom-style room. Abigail Brand is sitting alone, facing a shadowy panel of higher-ups. She's defending herself, though it's a bit unclear what went down. Basically, Brand says she's doing whatever it takes to protect Earth, no matter the cost. Brand tries to warn them about a massive threat, but the context is still a mystery. From the dialogue, it looks like she's about to get booted from S.W.O.R.D. If any of you comic buffs know exactly what she's referring to here, drop a comment below. We're back at the Institute now. The team is watching the news, but they're super bummed. Not a single clip of their heroic fight made the broadcast. So much for a PR win for mutant kind. Suddenly, Hisako bursts into the room, totally panicking. She can't find Eddie anywhere. She searched the whole campus. The Stepford Cuckoos chime in. They did a psychic sweep, but Eddie is completely off the radar. Then, Blindfold appears with a cryptic warning. Ruth says something super chilling. If he goes away, then no thank you. The new one will come. In the next panel, we see Eddie lying in a pool of blood on the ground. Did he actually jump? But then, things get weird. 1 second Eddie is outside, the next he's in a sterile room on a clean floor. And then, the twist. We see Eddie's body clearly now. He's in a massive chamber. Above him is a high-tech command center with monitors flashing a terrifying message, Danger Room Simulation. Wait, what is actually going on here? Two guys are chilling in a dark room, bragging about how they're going to be filthy rich after this. Meanwhile, back at the Institute, Emma Frost senses something off. She's curious, but then, click, a loud, sharp noise rings out. What happens next is straight out of a horror movie. Emma and the Stepford Cuckoos suddenly collapse with bloody noses, completely unconscious. The two mysterious guys feel a tremor at their spot too. But the weirdest part? The danger room door starts sparking with electricity. What on earth is going on? The X-Men go from 0 to 100 real quick. They rush Emma and the Cuckoos to the medbay while Kitty runs to check on the students. In this shot, we see Rasputin carrying Blindfold. It looks like a massive psychic blackout just targeted every telepath on campus. Back to our two mystery men. They are officially freaking out now. They're staring down, trembling, asking, is he looking at us? What could possibly scare them that much? Suddenly, the thing they're watching lunges up, completely demolishing the building. It's a Sentinel. Turns out, these guys were trying to scavenge or steal parts from a deactivated Sentinel, but the giant robot suddenly rebooted itself. It's like it heard a distant calling. Even though it's missing parts and falling apart, the machine starts limping toward its destination. Back at the school, Logan is hunting for clues but finds nothing. No scent, no trail. He tells Kitty and Peter he can't even track Eddie because he doesn't know the kid's scent. At this point, the whole attack on the Institute is still a total mystery. In the medbay, Scott is desperately trying to wake Emma up, but she's out cold. Hank says there's nothing physically wrong with her, so it has to be a telepathic strike. Scott keeps pleading for her to open her eyes. What Scott doesn't realize? Emma can actually hear him. She's just choosing to ghost him. From the look of it, she's still feeling a bit salty and jealous over Scott's other girl. Yep, I'm talking about Jean Grey. Emma's definitely got that possessive streak going. Meanwhile, out in the woods, that Sentinel is still crawling through the trees, leaving massive gouges in the dirt. Its legs are busted, so it can't fly or walk properly. But where is this giant heap of metal actually heading? Cut to the sword station. Abigail Brand is mid-workout, crushing some push-ups, when an officer knocks. The news: all communication lines to the Xavier mansion have been cut. Wait, I'm starting to think this threat isn't coming from the outside. It's coming from within. Back at the mansion, Beast confirms that Emma and the telepaths are stable, just unconscious. But the isolation is real. They're totally cut off. Logan realizes even the landlines are dead. Their only option? Someone has to head out and bring back reinforcements. Suddenly, Kitty's pet dragon, Lockheed, pops up. Kitty sent him to scout the perimeter, and the fact that he's back means he found something big. They follow Lockheed outside into the pitch-black night. Lockheed lets out a burst of flame, and the firelight reveals a massive Sentinel standing right in front of them. It's the limping robot from before. It only utters one word: destroy. It starts blasting eye lasers everywhere, forcing the X-Men into combat mode. The Sentinel rips a fence out of the ground and hurls it at the building. Cyclops yells at Kitty to get everyone into the danger room for safety. Meanwhile, Psyche, Colossus, and Wolverine team up to take down this one-legged giant. Cyclops fires an optic blast, but we know how tough Sentinels are. It shrugs off the hit and swats Scott away like a fly. But who's pulling the strings? Who's commanding this thing? We're still totally in the dark about the mastermind. The Sentinel's lasers are slicing right into the mansion. Kitty acts fast, turning everyone intangible so the beams pass right through them. Outside, Cyclops tells Logan and Peter to get behind him. Then, Scott flips up his visor. Oh, it's about to go down! A massive, high-intensity optic blast floods the screen. When the smoke clears and Scott puts his visor back on, the Sentinel has been blasted dozens of yards back. Seriously, this is one of Cyclops' coolest power feats ever. Wolverine sprints toward the downed robot to make sure it stays dead. Colossus turns to Scott, looking shaken. Did you hear it? It called us oppressor. Inside, Kitty opens the danger room to usher the students in. But once inside, she sees something that stops her heart. It's Eddie. His body is right there, looking exactly like he just fell from a great height. Kitty tells Hisako to take the students back to the hall. Something is very wrong. But then, one of the kids calls out to Kitty with something even scarier. Where did the door go? The exit is gone. They're trapped. Outside, Wolverine approaches the Sentinel's chest. The robot is still babbling about a Lord of the Sentinels who knows everything. Fed up, Logan sinks his claws deep into the machinery. Inside the danger room, Kitty can't phase through to find an exit. The room's safety protocols have been hijacked. She tells the kids she'll find a way out, but a voice snaps back, saying he only needs a moment to finish them all. And the one speaking? It's Eddie. He's standing up like a zombie. Outside, the rest of the team tries to force the danger room door open. Logan mentions the Sentinel's weird rant about paying for the father's sins. Just then, Beast carries Emma into the room. Emma's awake, and she drops a bombshell. Their enemy isn't in the danger room. The enemy is the danger room. Emma says the room is angry. Wait, they're fighting an AI now? Emma and Beast are trying to wrap their heads around the glitch in the danger room. Quick recap for those who don't know. The Danger Room is a high-tech facility at the Xavier Institute where the X-Men train their combat skills and teamwork. It can simulate anything, weather, light, terrain, to make a fight feel 100% real. But the scary part? Emma realizes the program running the room has actually mutated. That's the word Emma uses to describe this terrifying shift. Luckily, the students inside are still breathing, but they're running out of time because the only thing the Danger Room knows now is pure violence. Inside the simulation, Danger transforms the room into a hellish volcanic cliff swarming with monsters. The students are huddled together, just trying to survive the nightmare. In the middle of this chaos, Kitty is trying to keep her cool. She orders the kids to stay close. She tells everyone who can fly to take to the air to clear some space on the ground. That's when Zombie Eddie chimes in with a creepy, "Does that include me?" Kitty doesn't hesitate. She decks Zombie Eddie right in the face. Reminder, never underestimate Kitty pride. But the zombie shrugs it off and taunts her. Kitty says she's ready to throw down if he lets the kids go. But Zombie Eddie isn't budging. He claims he owns the Danger Room now, trying to show Kitty who's boss. Outside, Colossus is going ham on the door, but it's like punching a mountain. Beast remembers that when the room was rebuilt, the control hub was moved to the ceiling. Colossus, who, let's be real, has a huge crush on Kitty, is immediately like, "I'll look." Colossus leaps up, smashing through the ceiling and ripping through cables like they're wet paper. What a beast! Watching from below, even Logan is impressed, muttering, "Peter's really back." Back to Kitty and Zombie Eddie. The zombie is still playing power games, but Kitty stays calm. She's trying to dig deeper into what's actually happening to the room's logic. Suddenly, the simulation shifts to a desert. Kitty asks what really happened to Eddie, and the zombie simply says he lives because Eddie died. The interesting part? He says, "I was always programmed," which confirms it. He's not human. Back outside, Colossus gets zapped by the room's security system and crashes back down. Beast warns them to be careful. Professor X packed this place with traps for hackers. Beast heads up to try his hand at the tech. Meanwhile, Logan is still wondering about that Lord the Sentinel mentioned. And here's where it gets spooky. In the hangar, the X-Jet suddenly roars to life. Its engines start spinning on their own. Anyone else getting a bad feeling about this? Zombie Eddie reveals he was programmed to study and destroy the X-Men. He says the safety protocols that prevent him from killing were never installed. Translation: he's a literal killing machine. Kitty immediately tells Armor to back up the other students. So, here's the deal, based on their long talk. There's a malicious program that's been plotting to wipe out the X-Men for a long time. This AI is the one pulling the strings on the Sentinel and the Danger Room itself. It turns out this program was locked away years ago, probably by Professor X. We see a black sphere which seems to be the prison for this AI. But check this out. The X-Jet is fully airborne now. The jet blasts upward, tearing through the mansion from the inside. We then get a flashback to earlier that day. Eddie entered the danger room thinking he was outside talking to Hisako, but it was all a trick by the AI. Its goal? Nothing good. The hacked X-Jet crashes into the hallway right outside the danger room, facing off against the X-Men. I think we all know what's coming next. Gunfire. The X-Jet opens fire, forcing Scott and the team to dive for cover. Inside the room, Kitty finally connects the dots. You can guess what this AI really wants, right? Colossus acts as a shield for Wolverine, so Logan can climb up toward that black sphere Beast found. It's all clear now. The AI trapped in that sphere orchestrated everything with one goal, to get the X-Men to destroy its cage so it can finally be free. Logan smashes the sphere and instantly the danger room resets. Zombie Eddie vanishes into thin air. And the students? Thank God they're safe. Kitty climbs out and sees a blinding light from the explosion of the command core. She realizes they've just released the very heart of the program. Suddenly, the wreckage of the X-Jet and the debris from the building start moving on their own. They're assembling into a mysterious figure. It lands right in front of the X-Men. Meet Danger, a humanoid robot woman who, spoiler alert, actually joins the X-Men later. But right now, her vibe is purely menacing. She looks at the team and asks one chilling question. Shall we begin? The scene opens with Professor X's wheelchair rolling forward, and the dialogue here is a telepathic exchange between Charles and Danger. We learn something shocking. Professor X actually knew about the threat of Danger emerging, but why didn't he warn Scott and the others? And why show up only now? Still through telepathy, Danger claims that even if Charles knew this program was coming to life, he wouldn't care. Danger feels Charles only has eyes for his X-Men. She even calls him father. And technically she's right. Danger's core programming is Charles's own creation. Let's rewind a few hours to the showdown between Danger and the X-Men. Danger is taunting them, acting a bit superior. Wolverine doesn't wait around. He lunges first, ready to slice and dice. But Danger is fast. She dodges him effortlessly. With one swift move, she kicks Logan away and turns her gaze back to Scott and the rest. Scott and Beast demand to know what she wants. Why appear now, and what's the plan for the X-Men? But in reality, Danger only wants one thing. She wants to be understood. She gives the X-Men a chance why she took this physical form. Her answer? In this solid humanoid body, she can finally feel what the X-Men feel and do. But don't get it twisted. She's not here for a hug. She says she doesn't want to just terminate the X-Men. She wants to beat them to death. And with that, the X-Men go all out. But here's the catch. Danger is a mutation of the Danger Room, meaning she knows every single move in the X-Men's playbook. After all, she's the program Charles built to train them. She can calculate every possible combat maneuver they have. But according to Danger, the best part is when the X-Men actually manage to exceed her calculations. Luckily, she's not perfect yet. The X-Men often fight with raw emotion, which isn't always logical. Case in point, Beast manages to leap onto her back and starts ripping out cables with his bare teeth. While she's distracted, Colossus tackles her, smashing her through the floor to the level below. The X-Men are finally pushing back. Even Emma Frost, in her diamond form, jumps into the fray to pin Danger down. Way to go, team! Kitty leaps down to join the assault, but Danger is ready. She flings Emma and Colossus aside to regain her momentum. She drops a cold line here. They're not in the Danger Room. They're in danger, just as she braces for another hit from Colossus. Danger blocks Colossus's punch and extends her arm like a piston to slam Peter into a wall. Then, she grabs Emma, still in diamond mode, and gets ready for something brutal. She's literally preparing to drill straight into Emma's head. Thankfully, Scott intervenes with a massive optic blast. Even though Danger deflects it, it buys Emma enough time to scramble away. Beast and Wolverine keep up the pressure. Honestly, if this were a movie, this fight scene would be legendary. Anyway, the scene shifts to Sword HQ. Brand and her crew are watching satellite footage of the Xavier mansion being torn apart. Abigail asks Sidran, her alien tech expert, what he senses. Sidron says a new entity has emerged at the mansion, and it's definitely not human. Abigail decides it's time to check on Sword's house guest. Anyone know who that is? Meanwhile, we see Logan getting cratered into a wall. The battle rages on. Kitty finds Scott, who's dazed after Danger reflected his own blast back at him. Kitty realizes they need to scrap their training and do something totally unpredictable. Suddenly, Colossus hurls Emma Frost directly at Danger, and it works. Even Colossus looks surprised by that one, but hey, if it works, it works. Meanwhile, Brand visits Ord, the villain who fought the X-Men before. Ord claims he has nothing to do with this attack, but Ord is actually happy about it. He's glad someone else is giving the X-Men a hard time. If only they knew it wasn't a person or an alien, it's their own training program. Despite being outnumbered, Danger is evolving. She's getting smarter the longer the fight lasts. Back at the mansion, Kitty panics because she can't find a pulse or any sign of breathing from Scott. Danger slams Colossus so hard he reverts to human form. She takes the opening to hurl a sharp metal rod at him. Kitty phases Peter just in time, but in the process, she's the one who gets hit by the metal. Danger takes out Logan, leaving only Emma Frost standing. Emma prepares to strike. But Danger tells her she won't. Why? Because Danger says she knows the truth. Wait, what truth is she talking about? Danger whispers something into Emma's ear that's so shocking it forces Emma back into human form. With one punch, Danger drops her. It's over. The X-Men have lost. Danger hijacks the X-Jet and takes off. Where is this killer robot heading? She arrives at her destination, and Professor X is already there, waiting in his wheelchair. It's clear Danger is here to finish him off. But Charles? He's not going down without a fight. Danger might know how to beat the X-Men, but she's never faced Professor X one-on-one before, and Charles is ready for a duel. This is going to be epic. Charles tries to talk Danger out of this, but she's not hearing it. She says she's just following her programming. Her mission? Eliminate the X-Men. And with that, she leaps out of the X-Jet while it's still high in the sky. Danger sticks the landing, no problem. Right in front of her sits Charles's iconic wheelchair. Using her telepathy, she tells Professor X that this is the end for her father. But then, she gets a closer look at the chair. Surprise! It's not Charles sitting there. It's just a dummy, a decoy. So where's the real Xavier? He's behind the wheel of a massive truck, crashing through a wall and catching Danger totally off guard. I gotta admit, this panel is pure gold. The truck slams into Danger, but Charles doesn't let up. He keeps the pedal to the metal, with Danger pinned to the front grille. She fights back, though, morphing her arm to swipe at Charles through the windshield, but he manages to dodge just in time. With the truck trashed, Charles is running out of moves. But he's got a plan. He rams Danger off the highway and heads straight for a power plant. Fun fact, Charles mentions a friend who helped him set this up by manipulating magnetic waves. We all know who that guy is, right? Charles slams the brakes, sending Danger flying into high-voltage power lines. Electricity surges through her metallic body, and she lets out a scream. She is absolutely livid at being outplayed by Charles Xavier. Back at the mansion, the X-Men are getting patched up by Elixir, aka Joshua Foley. The team is still reeling, trying to process how their own training room turned into a killer robot that soloed the entire team. But Kitty points out that they weren't the real target. The X-Men were just obstacles. Danger's true goal is Professor X. Kitty bets Charles is in Genosha, and Scott gives a reluctant nod. Scott was keeping Charles's location a secret, but with things this dire, he has no choice. They have to get to Genosha fast, because Danger is way too powerful to be handled alone. Hilariously, everyone just ignores poor Joshua Foley, who's passed out on the floor from the exhaustion of healing them all. Back to Danger. She's fried, and her systems are failing. She looks wrecked, but she's not done. She funnels the electricity through her body into the power grid until, boom! The plant explodes, and somehow, Danger survives. But right then, Charles snags her in a psychic grip. It's pretty epic seeing Xavier use telepathy on a robot. I wonder why he can't do that to regular Sentinels? At the mansion lockers, Colossus tries to talk Kitty out of coming along, but she's not having it. She reminds him that she's the one who saved his skin when Danger tried to impale them earlier. But the real reason Peter doesn't want her there is because of Genosha's history. There's some heavy stuff involving Kitty's father there. Maybe I'll cover that in another video if we have time. We all know Kitty Pryde. She's stubborn as they come. There's no stopping her once she's made up her mind. Colossus eventually gives up and tells her to be ready in 10 minutes, per Scott's orders. Back to the mental chess match between Charles and Danger. Danger warns him she's reprogramming herself and he only has seconds. But Charles says that's plenty of time and wants to talk to her mutant to mutant. Wait, did he just call a blue robot a mutant? Being called a mutant triggers Danger. She snaps that she isn't one and steps toward him. But when it comes to talking, Charles is the GOAT. While he keeps her busy with dialogue, Danger suddenly freezes. Turns out, while they were playing mind games, Charles was busy dismantling Danger's physical body. So when she finally wakes up, she's trapped without a form. Charles crawls over and grabs Danger's head. Where's he going? In the final panel, the Fantastic Four's ship, borrowed by the X-Men, appears. Inside the ship, Emma explains that Danger mastered the X-Jet systems to fly it. Emma prepares to track Xavier telepathically, and then the whole team bails out with parachutes. Charles reaches his wheelchair just as Danger's head boots back up. He tosses the head backward, and it's caught by Colossus. Looks like the professor knew exactly when the X-Men would arrive in Genosha. But before they can even say hi, Danger chimes in. Welcome to Genosha. Usually that line doesn't lead to anything good. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking. Yep, definitely getting final boss vibes now. Then, a Sentinel rises, but it's massive, way bigger than the ones we're used to. Honestly, it looks like a giant Sentinel cockroach. Danger calls it a wild Sentinel, the kind that wiped out 16 million mutants in Genosha in less than half an hour. And now it's standing right in front of them. The wild Sentinel calls Danger Mother. This is it, the final battle. But wait, did you see Emma Frost clutching her head like she's in pain? What's up with that? The wild Sentinel activates Wipeout mode with a 20-second countdown, and it looks like it's about to unleash hellfire. Danger brags that she's already uploaded her consciousness into the giant, so she'll be just fine. Talk about a cheat code. Why do robot villains always have a backup drive? With the clock ticking, the X-Men have zero time to run. Cyclops' optic blasts would only feed the Sentinel more energy. Seeing no other way out, Kitty yells at everyone to grab onto her. Now! The X-Men and Professor X huddle up and touch Kitty. Right then, the wild Sentinel erupts in a massive sea of flames, enough to incinerate an entire city in a blink. Look at that panel. The scale of the fire is absolutely insane. The flames finally die down. Through the thick smoke and the ruins of Genosha, the X-Men emerge, safe. Kitty pulled it off, but man, you can see it in her face. She's drenched in sweat and looks completely spent. The wild Sentinel switches to swarm mode. Great, what now? Cyclops tells Beast to get Charles to safety, while Wolverine asks Colossus for a lift. Suddenly, hundreds of robotic insects start pouring out of the Sentinel's massive body. Logan is ready. Colossus is primed. With a powerhouse throw, Colossus launches Wolverine into the air right into the mechanical swarm. Wolverine goes into a frenzy, shredding metal left and right with his adamantium claws. Over with Beast and Charles. They're trying to retreat, but Charles insists they have to shut Danger down for good. He explains that Danger is different from a normal program. She has a mind, and one emotion has grown so powerful it consumed her, pure hatred. Suddenly, Danger cuts them off in midair. She's merged with a new body and grew wings. We're in trouble. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is struggling against the swarm. But wait, where's Emma? Why isn't she following Scott's lead? Emma slips into the dark, ruined basement of a collapsed building. It turns out she's meeting some mysterious figures. They tell her they're getting closer to their goal and that she doesn't need to play pretend anymore. Wait, if anyone knows what's going on here, let me know in the comments. Beast and Charles are cornered at the edge of a high, broken wall with Danger closing in. But now, it's Beast's time to shine. He lets go of Charles and lunges at Danger before she can react. Talk about a Beast attack. The X-Men are still fighting the swarm, but they're losing the numbers game. It's 4 heroes against hundreds. Cyclops is about to call for a retreat when Emma finally shows up to back them up. Okay, so we've got 5 X-Men here, minus Beast. After striking Danger, Beast dives down to catch Professor X before he hits the pavement. Once the professor is safe, Beast bounces right back up to deliver a finishing blow to Danger's new form. Kitty approaches Colossus mid-fight. She has a plan. She wants him to throw her into the Sentinel. She's sure she can do more damage from the inside. Peter hesitates, but fearing another fire blast, he realizes he has no choice. Colossus launches Kitty, and she phases right into the Wild Sentinel. Emma isn't a fan of the idea, but Scott trusts Kitty's instincts. I guess we've officially confirmed that Colossus is the team's designated pitcher. Meanwhile, Beast is literally tearing Danger apart in the sky. He brings down the wreckage of her body. When Charles tries to sense her presence, he feels nothing. It looks like Beast actually did it. Danger is offline. Cut to Kitty, who's navigating the dark innards of the Wild Sentinel. She's looking for the core controls. She finally finds the terminal, even as mini Sentinels start closing in behind her. The Wild Sentinel warns her not to mess with the system, claiming it knows her weaknesses. But here's the thing. When Danger woke this beast up, she suppressed its memories. Kitty's plan? She restores those memories, the horrific record of the Wild Sentinels slaughtering 16 million mutants. The weight of that guilt is too much for the now sentient machine to bear. Overwhelmed, the Sentinel simply flies away, leaving the X-Men alone in Genosha. The battle is finally over. The X-Men are safe, and Danger is gone. Charles thanks the team, but Peter confronts him. He tells Charles that Danger already spilled the beans. Charles knew about her sentience all along. Years ago, when Danger first woke up, she asked Charles where she was. But Charles ignored her. Instead, he locked her in that black sphere. Yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. Back then, Charles chose the X-Men. He chose to protect his students because he knew how dangerous her potential was. But the big question is, why keep it a secret from the team for so long? Cyclops is fuming. If they had known about Danger from the start, maybe none of this chaos would have happened. Emma tries to play peacemaker, but Scott snaps back, asking where she disappeared to during the fight. Beast steps in to cool things down as their ride arrives. The X-Men walk slowly toward their ship. As they leave, a mysterious man watches them, noting the tension in the group, especially Emma Frost looking annoyed with Cyclops. And in this final reveal, we see the faces Emma met earlier. It's Sebastian Shaw, Cassandra Nova, and their crew. Is the story of Astonishing X-Men Volume 3, issues 7 through 12. What did you guys think? Personally, I loved the story, though the art style in this specific arc wasn't exactly my cup of tea. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to request your favorite comic stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Comic Leap. See ya!